Ford Mustang is without doubt one of the most iconic cars in history, and so when the manufacturer decided to give its very first electric vehicle the same name, it had some pretty big shoes to fill. And whilst the original Mustang became one of the best cars on the market almost instantly, this electric Mach-E finds itself having to compete with a growing list of rivals, namely the Polestar 2 and the Volkswagen ID.4. So in this review, we're going to find out what we like, what we don't like, how it drives, and most importantly, how it competes with the other cars in its class. I'm Charlie Atkinson, and welcome to EV Powered's review of the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Now, I know what you're thinking. This Mach-E looks like your typical sporty Mustang, but there's something not quite right. And no, your eyes aren't playing tricks on you, because this SUV crossover has been disguised as a coupe, and that's all to do with the two different colours that they've used. Because you've got this bit here, which makes it look really sleek and slender, but it's actually this black bit up top here, which gives you the size and the practicality that you want from an SUV. It basically looks like your typical Mustang that's been hitting the mince pies pretty hard over Christmas, but to be honest, I don't mind that. I think it looks really good anyway, and I'm not afraid to put my neck on the line and say that this is probably my favourite looking EV on the market right now. There's also a few cool features on the outside as well, such as firstly, this fake grille design with this really cool Mustang logo, and also one of the best number plates I've ever seen on a test car. And even though you can't use them here in the UK, there is also the option for pin-coded entry, which is really cool and something I've never really seen before on a car. I also really love how the back end of this car lights up. Look. So the Mach-E is certainly better looking than its rivals, but how does it compare on all the important bits such as price and range? When it comes to range, the Ford Mustang Mach-E really sets the standard for electric vehicles in this class. This model has a range of up to 379 miles, and earlier this year it also set a Guinness World Record for the lowest energy consumption in an electric car on a journey from Land's End to John O'Groats. So, pretty good then. Now, in terms of price, the Ford Mustang Mach-E starts from just over £42,500, which seems like a good deal when you compare it to the price of a Polestar 2, for example. Now, I actually had this delivered on the same day that I had an Audi e-tron, and for a car that is significantly cheaper and that beats it on range, it seems well worth its money, especially when there's not too much difference elsewhere. I'll start with the inside, because the interior of this car has got absolutely everything you want from an electric car, including this massive Tesla-style iPad which glued to the dash, which does absolutely everything you want. It's got 1,000,001 features. It's probably not as advanced as the Tesla-style one, but it's still really, really good and is the centerpiece of the inside of this car. Now, it is an SUV, so you have got quite a lot of space, and as well you've got this panoramic sunroof up there which bleeds loads of natural light into the car, which makes it feel really nice and airy. And above all else, you've also got these really comfy seats with the red detailing, which is really nice and is just a nice touch. And yeah, just generally Ford have done a really, really nice job with the inside of this car. Elsewhere, there's a decent amount of space in the back, even if you are pretty tall, and there's also a massive 402 litres of boot capacity, which is really good and right up there with some of the biggest you'll find in an electric SUV. In terms of tech, you also have 360-degree parking cameras, wireless charging pads for your phone, park assist, and a B&O sound system as well, so you're properly kitted out. It's so far so good for the Mustang, but let's see what it's like on the road. So let's go over some of the stats. First of all, this car offers 351 brake horsepower and can deliver 580 Newton meters of torque, all of which helps this car accelerate from 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. So it packs a bit of a punch, but compared to something like the Polestar 2, for example, it doesn't feel quite as sharp, and that's mainly due to its weight. Compared to the Polestar 2, this is over 500 kilograms heavier, and that's mainly due to the size of the battery that it needs to deliver that really impressive range. However, regardless of whether this is slower or faster than some of its rivals, the fact remains that the Ford Mustang Mach-E is an absolute bundle of fun to drive, especially when you start playing around with all the different driving modes. You've got Whisper mode, which is Ford's equivalent of an eco mode. You've got Active, which is the regular comfort mode, if you like, but you've also got the brilliantly named Untamed mode, which turns this into an absolute beast and is really so much fun to drive. Once you have it in Untamed mode, you can also activate the propulsion sound system which will artificially create the noise of a traditional Mustang inside the car, and it will sound a little something like this. And that right there is the end result. It just puts a massive smile on your face. And I know us EV users go on about how we don't really need the noise from a car and it's really not that important, but when you can have a noise like that, it really is fun, and it does make this car so much more enjoyable to drive. But of course, on a day-to-day basis, you're not going to be thrashing this car around every chance you get. Most of the time, you're just going to be going about your daily business, and even when you're just pottering around in town, this car really is comfortable to drive. The regen braking on this car is also nice and predictable as well. You can turn it on and off using the infotainment screen there. There's just a little button for it, but it is really nice and predictable, and it can grind you to a complete stop quite quickly, even when you are traveling at a decent pace, which I quite like. I know there's a bit of a difference of opinion of how people like their regen braking and how severe they like it, but personally, it just allows me to put my left leg out of the way and just sit back, relax, and just get on with my one pedal driving. This car really does have that perfect split between being really nice and comfortable to drive and having a lovely interior where you are really nice and relaxed, but it's also got that other side and the flip side to the coin where if you want to, you really can blast this thing and have so much fun behind the wheel of it. I'm trying to think of an electric car I've had more fun driving, and to be honest, I'm really struggling. I mean, it feels like I'm saying this a lot at the moment, but this is hands down one of the best electric cars I've driven, and I suppose that just goes to show how advanced the electric vehicle market is becoming these days. We really are starting to see so many cars like this which are just simply brilliant and fit for the modern world. Despite my best efforts to find something I don't like about this car, I've got to admit that I've fallen completely in love with the Ford Mustang Mach-E. It's got absolutely everything you want from an electric car, from an amazing range to being really fun to drive whilst also being sensible and practical in the same breath. And above all else, it's just really cool. It is quite expensive, and it doesn't do a lot for the argument that all electric cars are expensive, but if you're looking for a decent sized SUV with an amazing range, then you don't need to look any further than the Ford Mustang Mach-E. That's all for this video. If you liked it, then please do drop us a like and remember to subscribe as well. You can also head over to our channel and check out all our other electric car reviews. For daily news coverage, features and much more, you can also head over to evpowered.co.uk. Thanks once again for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.